You think you know what betrayal feels like. Try sitting in your corner office at Goldman Sachs, on top of the goddamn world, when your phone buzzes with a message that's about to burn your perfect life to the ground. Hey boss, saw your wife at 11 Madison Park yesterday. That's how my story of pure calculated destruction began. And let me tell you, Wall Street teaches you a lot about hostile takeovers, but nothing prepares you for what I was about to do. Living in Manhattan with an amazing view of Central Park, at just 38, I had it all. 15 years of marriage to Anna, my college sweetheart who turned her passion for interior design into a thriving business in the Upper East Side. Our life seemed picture perfect, at least from the outside. The kind of life that makes it into those 40 Under 40 magazine features, which, coincidentally, I was just featured in last month. That morning, I was getting ready for another board meeting when Anna mentioned some new high-profile client she was excited about. I nodded, only half listening while checking the quarterly reports on my phone. These days, our conversations often felt like background noise, something I'd come to accept as normal in a busy marriage. The sound of her voice mixed with the gentle hum of our premium coffee maker and the distant honking of Manhattan traffic below. Michael, are you even listening? Anna's voice cut through my thoughts. I looked up to see her standing there, perfectly put together in her designer outfit, a hint of frustration in her eyes. She'd started doing that lately, calling me out on my distraction. Maybe I deserved it. Sorry, honey. Big meeting today. You were saying something about a new client? I tried to recover, but we both knew it was too late. The moment was gone, like so many others lately. She just shook her head and went back to her breakfast, scrolling through her own phone now. The silence felt heavy, but familiar. We used to talk for hours about everything and nothing. Now, most of our conversations revolved around schedules, social events, and which charity gala we needed to attend. The passion was still there, somewhere beneath the surface, but life had a way of burying it under layers of responsibilities and ambitions. Last week, we sat through an entire dinner at 11 Madison Park, barely exchanging 10 words. I told myself it was just a phase. All couples go through this, right? That evening, I took Anna to Daniel's, her favorite restaurant. It was our thing, monthly dinner dates to keep the romance alive. As we sat there, sipping an overpriced Bordeaux and making small talk about the Stevensons' upcoming benefit gala, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. But I brushed it aside. The food was excellent as always, the ambience perfect, and Anna looked stunning in her new Chanel dress. After all, we had built this life together, and a few quiet dinners were a small price to pay for success. The waiter brought our usual dessert, the chocolate souffle we'd been ordering for years. Anna barely touched hers, saying something about an early meeting tomorrow. I watched her check her phone for the third time in 10 minutes, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against the screen. There was a time when she would have savored every bite, telling me about her latest design inspiration or asking about my day. Now, we both seemed to be going through the motions, playing our parts in this carefully choreographed dance of success. Walking home through Central Park, Anna's arm linked through mine more out of habit than affection, I thought about how we'd gotten here. The promotions, the late nights, the sacrifices. It had all seemed worth it for the life we'd built. The apartment in the sky, the summer house in the Hamptons, the respect of our peers. I had everything I'd ever dreamed of. If only I had known then what was coming. But isn't that how these stories always start? You think you're living the dream until the moment you wake up. The first time I noticed something was really different was during the Anderson account review. I just closed a $500 million deal, the kind that usually meant a celebration dinner with Anna. Instead, when I called to share the news, she seemed distracted, mentioning something about a client meeting running late. "That's great, Michael," she said, her voice lacking its usual enthusiasm. "Listen, I got to run. Andrew, the new client I was telling you about. He's got this huge renovation project we need to discuss. Can we do dinner tomorrow instead?" I sat in my corner office, staring at the skyline through the floor-to-ceiling windows. When had our successes stopped being shared victories? A notification popped up on my phone, another photo of Anna on Instagram, posted at some trendy restaurant downtown. The caption read, "Late-night design meetings with fantastic clients, #blessed #interior design." She looked happier in that photo than she had at home in weeks. The next day, I decided to surprise her at her studio for lunch. It had been ages since I'd done something spontaneous, and maybe that's what we needed. Walking into the sleek space she created in a converted Soho loft, I noticed the changes immediately. New artwork on the walls, a redesigned reception area, and the sound of laughter coming from her office. The door was slightly ajar, and I could hear Anna's voice, animated in a way I hadn't heard in months. "That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like you read my mind." A male voice responded, low and amused, but I couldn't make out the words. I knocked, pushing the door open. Anna looked up, surprise flickering across her face. "Michael." She was sitting at her desk, designs spread out between her and a man who could have walked straight out of a luxury watch advertisement. He stood up, extending his hand. "You must be the husband. Andrew Peterson. I've heard so much about you." His handshake was firm, confident. The kind of handshake that said he was used to getting what he wanted. "Funny," I said, keeping my tone light. "I've heard very little about you." The moment stretched uncomfortably until Anna jumped in, talking about their massive penthouse renovation project. I noticed how she unconsciously angled her body toward him as she spoke, the way her hands moved animatedly describing their vision. "I brought lunch," I said, holding up the bag from her favorite deli. "But I can see you're busy." "Oh, we were just about to order something actually," Anna said, glancing at Andrew. "Why don't you join us?" I looked at my watch, suddenly remembering a meeting I didn't actually have. "Can't. Just wanted to drop this off." "Nice to meet you, Andrew." Walking back to the office, I told myself I was being paranoid. Anna had always been passionate about her work, and good client relationships were crucial in her business. Still, something felt different. The way she lit up around him, the easy laughter I hadn't heard in our own home for months. That night, Anna came home late, smelling of wine and wearing the kind of smile that used to be reserved for me. "Andrew had some fantastic ideas for the penthouse," she said, kicking off her heels. We lost track of time at the design center. I watched her move around our bedroom, humming softly to herself. "You seem to be spending a lot of time with this client," I said carefully. She paused, giving me a look I couldn't quite read. "He's our biggest project this year, Michael. You of all people should understand dedicating time to important clients." Her tone had an edge to it, a subtle reminder of all the dinners I'd missed, all the times I'd chosen work over her. I let it drop, but that night, lying awake listening to her steady breathing, I couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shifted in our carefully constructed world. The question was, what was I going to do about it? They say when something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Andrew Peterson's penthouse project was bringing in more money than any other client in Anna's studio's history. But something about it felt off, like watching a slow-motion car crash you can't prevent. "Another late meeting?" I asked, watching Anna pick out her outfit with unusual care one Thursday morning. She'd been spending more time on her appearance lately. New dresses, different hairstyle, even some new perfume I didn't recognize. "We're finalizing the material selections today," she said, not quite meeting my eyes in the mirror. "Andrew has very specific tastes. He likes to be hands-on with every decision." My phone buzzed, a message from Tom, my VP of Finance. "Hey boss, saw your wife at 11 Madison Park yesterday. Didn't know she was handling the Peterson account. Guy's got quite the reputation." My stomach tightened. 11 Madison Park? Anna had told me she was at a supplier meeting in Brooklyn yesterday. I typed back, "What reputation?" The response came quickly, "Let's grab coffee. Some things better discussed in person." An hour later, Tom looked uncomfortable across the table. "Peterson's got a history. He likes to get involved with his contractors, especially the attractive ones. His last 2 renovations ended with some messy situations. Divorces. There's more," he continued, lowering his voice. "Jenny from marketing was at 11 Madison too. So they looked pretty cozy. Lots of wine, lots of touching. Not exactly a business dinner vibe." Back in my office, I pulled up Andrew Peterson's social media. Recent photos showed high-end restaurants, charity events, and my blood ran cold. 3 days ago, a close-up shot of marble samples, but in the background, blurred but recognizable, was Anna's desk. Her new Hermes scarf draped over the chair. Caption: "Making beautiful choices with a beautiful mind." 2 weeks ago, a dinner shot at Le Bernardin. The caption mentioned discussing design concepts, but you could see a woman's hand with a familiar bracelet, my anniversary gift to Anna last year. My phone buzzed. Anna, don't wait up tonight. Final material selection meeting running late. Love you. I stared at the message, remembering all the times I'd sent similar texts over the years. All the late meetings, the missed dinners, the excuses. Was this karma? Opening my laptop, I pulled up our credit card statements. Something inside me broke as I started searching for patterns. Multiple charges at high-end restaurants on days she claimed to be at supplier meetings. A hotel bar charge when she was supposedly at a design conference. The rational part of my brain said to confront her. But another part, the part that had built a career on strategic timing, said to wait, to watch, to be certain. I opened my contact list, scrolling to a name I hadn't called in years. David Stern, the best private investigator in Manhattan. Sometimes, in the world of high finance, you needed to know things for certain. I never thought I'd be using those services for this. The private investigator's photos hit my inbox at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. I was at the office, coffee in hand, steeling myself for what I might see. David Stern was worth every penny. The photos were crystal clear, time-stamped, and left nothing to imagination. Anna and Andrew, entering his penthouse. Not for a design meeting. Her body language screamed everything I needed to know. Photos from different days, different outfits, same story. The smoking gun was a shot of them on his balcony, locked in an embrace that definitely wasn't discussing fabric swatches. I was about to close the laptop when another email landed. Urgent. Live update. David's message was brief. They're at your Hamptons house right now. Guess she thought you'd be stuck in the city all weekend with that big merger you mentioned. Talk about adding insult to injury. Our summer house, the one where we used to spend lazy weekends planning our future. I grabbed my keys. The 2-hour drive would give me plenty of time to think about how I wanted to play this. Halfway there, my phone lit up. Anna, working on the final designs at the studio today. Miss you. Red heart. Sure you are, honey, I muttered, pressing the accelerator. The Range Rover ate up the miles while my mind raced through years of memories, now all tainted. The signs had been there. I just hadn't wanted to see them. When I pulled up to our beach house, Andrew's flashy Porsche was parked right out front. Bold move, or maybe they thought they were untouchable. The spare key was still in its hiding spot. Some things never change. I could hear music and laughter from our deck. Taking a deep breath, I walked through the house, my footsteps masked by the sound of waves and their voices. They were in our hot tub, the one Anna had insisted we install last summer. Now I knew why. You really should be more careful where you park that Porsche, Andrew. They jumped apart like teenagers caught by parents. Anna's face went from shock to horror to guilt in 3 seconds flat. Michael, this isn't. Save it. My voice was ice. Really, Anna? Our house? That's just cold. Andrew tried to play it cool, reaching for his champagne glass. Look, man, these things happen. In my house, with my wife. Didn't peg you as having a death wish. The look in my eyes must have registered because he quickly dropped the smug act. Anna was scrambling for a towel, mascara running. Michael, please, let me explain. Explain what? How you've been lying to my face. How you've been playing me for a fool. I pulled out my phone, showing her the investigator's photos. Or maybe explain these? You had me followed? Her voice shifted from guilt to indignation. Don't even try to flip this on me. How long? The silence was deafening. Then, barely audible. For months? I laughed, a hollow sound. For months. Good to know. Andrew, you've got 2 minutes to get your things and get out of my house before I lose my cool. And trust me, you don't want to see that. He moved fast, grabbing his clothes, nearly slipping on the deck. No honor among cheaters, apparently. Michael. Anna reached for my arm. I stepped back like her touch would burn me. Pack your things. When I get back to the city, I want you gone. And Anna? Your star client's reputation for wrecking marriages? Turns out you were just another notch on his belt. Congratulations. You played yourself. Walking away from my own house, hearing her broken sobs behind me, I felt nothing but cold determination. The game was over, but the real battle was just beginning. And in this arena, I never lose. 3 days after the Hamptons incident, I sat in my office, staring at the Manhattan skyline. Anna's calls had gone from constant to sporadic to nothing. My doorman informed me she'd moved in with her sister. Smart move. She knew better than to stay at Andrew's. My assistant knocked and entered the office with purpose. Sir, the documents you requested. She dropped a thick folder on my desk. Inside was everything about Andrew Peterson's business empire. Being CFO at Goldman had its perks, like having access to every financial skeleton in New York's closet. Flipping through the pages, I couldn't help but smile. Peterson's latest development project was leveraged to the hilt. One call to the right people, and his house of cards would collapse. But that would be too quick, too merciful. I picked up my phone to call my VP of Finance. Tom, remember that tip about Peterson's reputation? Time to return the favor. Give me everything. The previous divorces, the settlements, any NDAs. I want it all. 2 hours later, my email notification broke the silence of my office. Tom's message was brief but promising. You're going to want to see this. Especially page 7. Bingo. 3 previous affairs, all with clients or contractors. 2 messy divorces, both swept under the rug with hefty payouts. But the third woman, she kept evidence. Text messages, hotel receipts, photos. Evidence that was now in my possession. As I opened my laptop to draft an email, my phone lit up with Anna's name again. After 3 days of ignoring her calls, I decided to answer. Her voice came through, small and pleading. Michael, please, can we talk? I gripped the phone tighter, my voice cold and steady. About what? How you threw away 15 years. Or how you did it in our summer house? I made a terrible mistake, she choked out between what sounded like sobs. I'll do anything. A harsh laugh escaped me. Anything? Go ask Andrew how his other mistress's marriages worked out. Oh wait, you can't. He's not taking your calls either, is he? The silence on the other end told me everything I needed to know. Just like I thought, Peterson had already moved on to his next conquest. Perfect. I ended the call without another word and turned back to my laptop. Typing. Meeting request. Board of Directors, Peterson Development Corporation. Being their lead investment bank had advantages. Time to play hardball. Just another day in the finance world, removing weak assets from the portfolio. The Peterson Development Corp boardroom felt different from this side of the table. Usually, I'd be here pitching deals, but today was about watching things burn. As lead financial advisor, I began, my voice carrying the precise mix of concern and professionalism I'd perfected over years of deals. I feel obligated to bring certain irregularities to the board's attention. The room was dead silent as I clicked through my presentation. Behind me, Andrew shifted uncomfortably in his chair. I could practically smell his nervous sweat. One of the board members, an older woman with steel gray hair, leaned forward. Mr. Wilson, are you suggesting Mr. Peterson has been misappropriating company funds? I kept my face carefully neutral as I responded. The evidence speaks for itself. Multiple unauthorized expenses, questionable property acquisitions, and I paused for effect, a pattern of personal conduct that poses significant liability risks. Another board member's voice cut through the tension. What kind of personal conduct? Perhaps Mr. Peterson would like to explain his history of relationships with contractors? I suggested, watching Andrew's face drain of color. Or shall I detail the previous settlements? Before Andrew could respond, his phone buzzed loudly. He glanced at it, and I knew exactly what he was seeing, his bank's fraud alert. Amazing how many red flags can pop up when someone at Goldman makes a few calls. The board chairman's voice was grave. Andrew, is this true? Peterson tried to maintain his composure, but I could see him crumbling. These allegations are completely... Sorry to interrupt. I cut in smoothly, but I just received an interesting email. I held up my phone. Apparently, the SEC has some questions about recent property valuations. Funny timing. The chairman's face hardened. Andrew, I think you should step out while the board discusses this matter. As Peterson stumbled out, I caught his eye and gave him the smallest of smiles. The kind that said, "This is just the beginning." My phone vibrated. Anna was calling again. This time, her message was different. Michael, why are Andrew's assets being frozen? He says you're behind this. I couldn't help but chuckle as I replied. Oh, you mean your boyfriend's having money troubles? That's rough. But hey, at least you know he's not just with you for your design skills. This isn't right, she protested, her voice shaking. You're destroying his life. No, sweetheart, I corrected her, watching Peterson pace in the hallway through the glass walls. I'm doing what I do best, cleaning up bad investments. And you too. Worst investment I ever made. Later that evening, I sat in my office, watching the news headlines roll in. Peterson Development Corp stock plummets amid fraud allegations. One call to the right reporter, and the story was everywhere. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. Sir, Ms. Wilson is here to see you. I smiled, remembering Anna's face when we first bought that Hermes scarf. The one she'd left draped over her office chair in Peterson's Instagram post. The one that had started this whole avalanche. Send her up, I replied. Time to discuss divorce terms. It's amazing how fast news travels in New York's elite circles. 1 week after the board meeting, Peterson Development Corp was in freefall. I watched from my office as another news alert popped up on my phone. Andrew Peterson steps down amid growing scandal. My intercom buzzed, and my assistant's voice came through. Sir, Mrs. Peterson is here to see you. That was unexpected. I straightened my tie. Sent her in. Andrew's wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, according to the papers, stormed into my office. Her Chanel suit couldn't hide the fury in her eyes as she spoke. You know about Andrew and your wife? It wasn't a question. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Please, have a seat, Elizabeth. I've known about his habits for years, she continued, sitting down with perfect posture. But I kept quiet, kept up appearances. Until now. I leaned back, studying her carefully. And what changed? A cold smile crossed her face. You did. When you exposed him to the board, you gave me an opening. My divorce lawyers thank you. Happy to help, I replied with a slight smirk. I assume you're here for more than just a thank you. Elizabeth opened her designer bag and pulled out a USB drive. Let's just say I've been collecting insurance for years. Emails, photos, transactions, everything about every affair, including Anna's. Thought you might find it useful. Now this was interesting. I raised an eyebrow. And what do you want in return? Nothing, she said, standing up. Consider it a gesture of appreciation. Besides, she added, heading for the door, I already have what I want. His reputation is ruined, and my prenup is void due to his misconduct. After she left, my phone lit up with a text from Anna. Did you know Andrew's wife is taking him for everything? He's saying he can't even afford a lawyer anymore. I typed back, Karma's a better accountant than I am. How's the job hunt going? Her response came quickly. Every design firm in the city suddenly has concerns about professional conduct issues. This is your doing, isn't it? Funny how word gets around, I replied. Maybe try Jersey? I hear they have lower standards. Later that day, Tom caught me in the elevator. You saw the news about Peterson's Hamptons property going into foreclosure? I nodded, checking my watch. And his penthouse is next. Amazing how fast banks call in loans when they smell trouble. Cole, man, Tom chuckled. Remind me never to get on your bad side. If he only knew, this was just phase 1. 1 month after Elizabeth Peterson's visit, I sat in my home office reviewing the final moves of my plan. The USB drive she'd given me had proved invaluable, a digital treasure trove of Andrew's indiscretions. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Peterson Development Corp files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I was admiring the headline when my security system announced a visitor. The camera feed showed Anna, looking nothing like the polished designer she'd once been. My doorman's voice came through the intercom. Sir, Mrs. Wilson insists on seeing you. Says it's urgent. Send her up, I replied, straightening my tie. Time for the endgame. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. Gone were the designer clothes and confident stride. She looked broken. Her voice trembled as she spoke. Michael, please. You have to stop this. I gestured to the chair across from me. Stop what exactly? I'm just a businessman doing business. Andrew. She choked out. He's lost everything. The company, his reputation, his marriage. He won't even take my calls anymore. A cold smile crossed my face. Sounds like a personal problem. Though I hear he's doing great on dating apps. Already moved on to a younger model. Anna's eyes filled with tears. I've lost my studio. None of my clients will work with me. Even my friends won't return my calls. Fascinating how actions have consequences, I mused, pulling up a document on my laptop. By the way, Elizabeth Peterson sends her regards. She shared some interesting emails between you and Andrew. Very detailed. The color drained from her face. What? Oh yes, I continued, turning the screen toward her. Including your little plan to expand the studio using my connections. That must have been before Andrew dumped you, of course. I never. She started, but I cut her off. Save it. The evidence is quite clear. You know what's interesting about New York society? Everyone loves a scandal, but they hate being associated with one. I leaned back in my chair. How's that job search going? Her voice cracked as she replied. You know I can't find work anywhere in the city. Try Connecticut, I suggested with mock sympathy. I hear they're less particular about professional ethics there. Was this your plan all along? She asked, wiping away tears. To destroy both our lives? I stood up, straightening my cuffs. No, Anna. You destroyed your life when you chose to sleep with a client. I just made sure everyone knew about it. The divorce papers are with my lawyer. Don't worry about contesting anything, unless you want those emails going public. As she left, my phone buzzed again. Another news alert. Prominent interior designer linked to Peterson development scandal. The article included a particularly compromising photo from Elizabeth's collection. I poured myself a scotch and smiled. In finance, timing is everything. And revenge, like a well-planned hostile takeover, is all about patience. 6 months after the Peterson development scandal, I sat across from my lawyer as he finalized the divorce papers. Anna hadn't contested anything. She couldn't afford to, both financially and reputation-wise. Everything's signed, my lawyer announced. Though I have to say, in 20 years of handling high-profile divorces, I've never seen someone fold so quickly. I smiled, thinking of Elizabeth Peterson's USB drive. Amazing what the right leverage can do. My phone buzzed with a news notification. Andrew Peterson spotted working as sales manager at New Jersey car dealership. Another notification followed. His ex-wife Elizabeth had just been appointed to the board of a major development company. Walking out of the lawyer's office, I ran into Tom in the lobby. Man, did you see? Anna's working at some small-time design firm in Connecticut. Entry-level position. Heard she's living in a studio apartment now. Life comes at you fast when your reputation tanks, I replied. How's the Peterson account transition? Smooth, Tom grinned. Elizabeth sends her thanks. Oh, and get this. Andrew tried to apply for a position at Goldman last week. Got rejected at the door. My assistant called. Sir, your old summer house in the Hamptons just sold. Well above asking price. Perfect, I replied. The one with the hot tub, where everything went down? Good riddance. Back in my office, I found an email from Anna. I know you won't believe me, but I really am sorry. Seeing Andrew with his new girlfriend in page 6 made me realize what a fool I'd been. I typed back, you're right. I don't believe you. But thanks for making me realize I deserve better. Her response came quickly. I lost everything because of him. My reputation, my business, my friends. Please, can we talk? I left that unanswered. Instead, I made a generous donation to a women's shelter in Manhattan, the one Anna's firm used to design for free. That evening, looking out over the Manhattan skyline, my assistant's voice came through. Sir, dinner at Le Bernardin is confirmed. Table for one? No, I replied, thinking about the prosecutor I'd met last week who laughed at my finance jokes and didn't care about Instagram followers. Make it for 2, and send flowers to her office. The real kind, not the ones for social media. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just winning, it's moving on to something better. 1 year to the day after discovering Anna's affair, I stood in the lobby of Goldman Sachs, reading about my promotion to managing director. The Wall Street Journal article mentioned my masterful handling of the Peterson development situation as a key factor. My new assistant's voice interrupted my thoughts. Sir, Anna Wilson is in the lobby. I hadn't seen her since the divorce. Curiosity won out. Sent her up. When she stepped into my office, she looked different. Cheaper clothes, tired eyes. Her voice was small. I saw the announcement. Congratulations. What do you want, Anna? I kept my voice neutral, watching her fidget with her purse. I ran into Andrew yesterday, she said. He tried to hit on me again, said we could start over. A bitter laugh escaped her. Can you believe it? Let me guess. Now that his new girlfriend dumped him, he's making the rounds? I couldn't help but smirk. How'd that work out? I told him to go to hell, she replied. I also. She hesitated. I wanted to say you were right. About everything. I lost it all for someone who never cared. I studied her for a moment. Funny how karma works. You know, Elizabeth Peterson just bought your old design studio. Completely rebranded it. Anna's face fell. I heard. Listen, I know it's too late, but I really am sorry. You're right, I said, standing up. It is too late. But I should thank you. If you hadn't shown me who you really were, I never would have found someone who actually deserves trust. Her eyes widened. You're seeing someone? I glanced at the photo on my desk. Me and Claire, the prosecutor, at the Met Gala. Getting married in spring. She's everything you weren't. Honest, loyal, real. Oh, Anna's voice cracked. I'm happy for you. Are you? Because honestly, I don't care. Your approval stopped mattering when you chose to throw away 15 years for a guy who couldn't even keep his car dealership job. My phone buzzed. Claire was calling. I picked it up, turning away from Anna. Hey, beautiful, just wrapping up here. Still on for dinner. When I turned back, Anna was gone. Through the glass walls, I watched her walk away, shoulders slumped. The mighty Manhattan socialite, reduced to yesterday's news. My new assistant popped in. Sir, the car's waiting to take you to Le Bernardin. And Claire called. She said yes to the house in the Hamptons. I smiled, grabbing my coat. Sometimes losing everything is the best thing that can happen to you. It shows you what and who really matters.